You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of March 13th, 2022. This is episode 207. From that city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barce.
And straight out of 98226, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, sing along if you know the words, kiddies. Dear land of hope, thy hope is crowned. God make thee mightier yet. On sovereign brows, beloved renowned, once more thy crown is set. Thine equal laws, by freedom gained, have ruled thee well and long. By freedom gained, by truth maintained, thine empire shall be strong. Are you like me? Do you have no idea what these song lyrics are all about? It's actually the lyrics to Pomp and Circumstance, that song that they play when you graduate from one year to the next. Last episode, we went through the 101 course of the Adventurgogy. You graduated, congratulations. Now it's in the 201 level. We're going to talk more about how to equip your little for outdoor fun, adventure, and learning next on the Bellingham Podcast.
And with the bell ring, school is back in session. How are you, Mr. Powell?
I'm a ring-a-ding-dong dandy right now. AJ, how about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I'm just hanging in there with the kind of the wild ride that is everything. Just everything.
Yes. No, I got you. I enjoyed our previous episode, 206, great area code.
Yeah.
And discussing about the learning about outdoor adventures. And once again, so this is gonna be your show. I want to be the Flavor Flav to your Chuck D, the Jay Briscoe to your Mark Briscoe, if you will. So I'm gonna just add the frosting on the bunt cake that is this
You're my
lesson.
Seasoning.
I'm happy to be the seasoning, not too spicy in some cases, because we want to keep this clean without the explicit tag.
2 stars?
Two stars, yes. Let's talk about Adventurgogy, the next level.
Well, before we do that, I do want to give a shout out, a local shout out. So, I mean, much like any other content creator right now, our hopes and prayers and thoughts go out to the Ukraine people and stuff.
Yep.
But for a local beat, because I wanted to take a different angle, a hook, as it were.
A tasty hook in this case.
Owner and proprietor Magdalena of Magdalena's Creperie.
Yes.
If you haven't been following her, and because she's Polish, and also her staff, I think, don't quote me on this, Chris, I think half, if not like 80% of her staff is actually either Polish or Ukraine.
They're bad. They're worldwide.
Yeah. So because of that, and she also has ties back to Poland.
Yes.
She drummed up a lot of support here in the community of donations and food and clothing and stuff to be shipped out to Polish families that are going to be homing temporarily some of the refugees out of the Ukraine. If you're here in the Bellingham area and that's an effort that you wanted to do and you didn't want to send your funds abroad or through some digital portal, you might want to hit up Magdalena over at Magdalena's Creperie. At the time of this recording, I don't know if she's still if she's doing another round of it or not, but you and I have read online a lot of the scams. Magdalena is part of our one, she's the goods, but two, she's in our community. So for those that are listeners and you want to contribute, that would be an avenue I would look at.
Magdalena's crepes are without a doubt scam free.
Yes.
And in the Fairhaven area around Village Books, the Village Green, you will find Magdalena's Creperie. Whether or not we haven't checked in with Magdalena lately, we need to have her as a guest on the show sometime.
We really do. I love you, Magda.
Go stop by, have a crepe, support a local business. The weather's getting nicer. It's not freezing anymore, at least for the most part. And support a local business that makes some tasty crepes.
Oh yes.
All right.
So school is now back in session, Chris.
Right.
And for 201, we're gonna do a little bit of review. Okay.
Even though this is episode 207, this is the 201
I almost
level.
said 201.
I know
like
you
episode
did.
207.
Good catch.
So, building off of 206, I'm going to hit on the mountain rules again. And these are the 5 rules. And my son gets 1 rule every year of him being alive and going out trekking with his dad.
Let's recap.
So recap. So rule number 1, always listen to data.
That's right.
Number 2, never goof around. 3, always pay attention. 4,
What?
4,
What?
4, be careful.
Okay.
And 5, only go as far as you know as you can get back.
Wise words for life in general.
Exactly. So to build up on this, I want to talk about, like, for a lot of people, the 201 entrance into the outdoors is, okay, you want to go out and you want to go trekking, you want to be in the outdoors. And a park, because last episode we talked about parks and just kind of building up. So the next thing beyond just walking and getting some miles underneath your feet is just getting out there. the safest way, go camping.
As opposed to a day trip, which would be the 101 introductory level. Let's go overnight, if you will.
Exactly. And the reason behind this episode is going to be, especially for gear lovers, we're going to talk about entry level of kit. Okay. So when you are going camping, there's lots of different camping, and I'm not one of these aficionados that are just like, oh, you have to like be ultralight and go at least 20 miles in 3 days. Not my thing.
Not yet. No. That's the 501 level.
Right. You are not like, you can, I mean, I have a Toyota Tacoma, throw a blow up mattress in the back of that and go camp under the stars. And my son was maybe 3, barely even 3 at that, when we went on a kind of an overland excursion, and we were camping on our state wildlife and lands, which you can freely camp on. And I didn't have a tonneau cover or a canopy, and it was during the summer, and we just slept in the bed of the truck. And it was funny because my son woke up, and we're in dark sky country and just nothing but stars above him. And to this day, it's probably one of his earliest memories is he remembers sleeping under the stars. And he constantly asks me when the weather is better, when are we going to go sleep under the stars again, Dad?
There you go.
And it's those type of essences that I want to build into this. It's not just about, grabbing a bunch of kit, throwing in the back of your car or vehicle, and then going to a campground and setting up a tent. It's more than that. It's what you want your little to take away from that.
Absolutely.
Okay. But there is a little bit of trepidation. Gear.
Well, you want to be prepared.
Yeah. I mean, by no means, like I grew up sleeping in the beds of trucks. So like I'm comfortable with that. You may not, and that's totally fine. But gear can be a huge, my sister-in-law, I'll use her as an example. Like she really got into hiking and stuff, and she put together this beautifully, I would love to have a lot of the kit that she had. This ultralight backpack for doing several miles on a 40-liter rig and stuff for one trek. Okay, cool. Buy once, cry once. I get it. But she wasn't well equipped for doing day treks. You don't bring a big, burly, framed backpack if you're going to go do like the Oyster Dome.
Sure.
So what I want to kind of bring up is try before you buy. So if you don't have kit, REI is a great place to go and start. Okay. They have a rental section. It's reasonably priced. Even yours truly. I don't care. I don't keep all my mountaineering gear. I don't have mountain crampons or an ice axe. I go and rent that stuff. Even I do.
Great for those minimalists out there that don't want to buy that. Try before you buy.
Yeah.
And if it's REI, I'm sure they have great quality gear for rent.
They totally do. And so like the other thing is, I'm not saying this is my sister-in-law, but like I've seen with a lot of other people, they'll go and they'll buy based off of reviews and the picture of what they want them to be as a hiker versus what they should be using as a hiker.
Sure.
So for instance, like I, up until the St. Helens trek, I'd not used an ice axe. Okay. Had the general principles, but as for length of ice axe, next time that I do it, I'm actually going to get a longer one than the one that I checked out. And again, it's easier to rent it and try it and find that out with your ergonomics, because you can read all the reviews in the world like I did and still come up 1 inch short of your ice axe.
And as you're doing all the research and learning and educating yourself about that firsthand experience is the best kind of wisdom.
Bingo.
And you can go from there works with what your situation is. AJ, you're a svelte, strapping young lad. I'm a big burly 1/8 of a ton kind of mamma jamma. What works for you may not necessarily work for me because, oh, by the way, my wingspan is, it's safe to say, is longer than yours.
Sure.
And that 1 inch that you would be missing with the ice axe is probably more like 12 inches off for me. And so it is, and then the weight for a single mom with a couple kiddos, here's hoping you won't be going to Mount St. Helens on your first overnight camping excursion.
No.
But what works for me may not necessarily work for a single mom who's hopefully much more petite than 6'3", 250.
Or whatever.
And the kiddos for that. But moving on.
Yeah. So the other thing is, so sheltering, of course. So I see this also, tents. Like you get the glamping style tent where it's like you have the bump outs and all this other jazz, versus just like a single dome, right? Again, you may not need either end of that spectrum or something in between. You don't have to go name brand, okay? You just get what makes you comfortable and comfortable for your affordability for doing this long term, because you want this to be sustainable.
Consider this an encouragement from the Bellingham podcast to try something out.
Yep.
and learn from what you got and then improve upon afterwards.
The other way that I would say going about this, if you're not going to rent, is here in the Pacific Northwest, there's this other motive that we have. See, if you were to go down any suburban, say, cul-de-sac with garage doors open in any given day in March or April, you would notice that most of our garages look like an REI outlet. Go to garage sales, okay?
Yes.
I told the story about my son getting his trekking pole. We found it at a garage sale, okay? And he bought it, and it became his piece of kit.
Yes.
You can find some great deals and great kit in this area because everybody here who's in this ethos is constantly turning over equipment. Lightly used, get some use out of it, get some experience out of it, and then you've tried before you'd had to buy it.
And then also don't discount, no pun intended, the thrifting that we have available in Bellingham as well. You might find some wonderful hidden bargains in some other discount shops.
Yep. The last one I would say is ask a neighbor. So like, for instance, our one of our own neighbors, I will be taking him out on a trek to a certain waterfall here soon. He doesn't have a good pair of hiking boots. Him and I happen to have the same foot size. Got an extra pair of boots. He doesn't know it yet, but he's getting an extra pair of boots from me.
Wrote a song about it, like to hear. Here go.
Borrow or just, ask your neighbor, because 9 times out of 10, we probably have gear and I'll hook you up,
There you go.
So outside of the kit, there's one other thing I need to throw in there. And that is a good radio.
Yes.
Like, maybe set to KMRE 102.3 FM.
On that FM dial, they are community powered, or if you happen to have cellular signal, get your app for the Internet Tuner set to kmre.org and listen to all of the fine programming 24/7, including and most especially Saturdays at 3 p.m. when they'll broadcast this humble episode over the airwaves, wherever you might be.
Building on to my 201 kit, think about if you have a sub 5-year-old, some of the things that I did incorporate into this kit outside of just a tent and stuff. One, when you're packing, make them pack with you. That way they get that experience of what does it take to go away from the house and stay away from the house? Like food. How much food do we need?
As you're working with a little who may have various levels of attention spans, I have a question for you.
Sure.
How should if you're a parent with a little and this may be your first outing, would you want to over prepare or overpack versus underpack?
So if you're doing like a weekend, like let's say you're doing 2 nights type of thing, pack like you're going to stay for 3 nights.
Okay. So a little bit more than what is expected.
Because it's just so that you're comfortable and your family is comfortable.
Sure.
However many is in your family. And that way also, if something goes awry, you blow a tire or whatever, or God forbid your vehicle doesn't start up. Yes. You've got extra supplies until AAA finds you, right?
Exactly.
That type of a thing.
Cool.
I'm more of a proponent of that because you don't know what might happen. And then you kind of figure it again, as you keep going out with different pieces of kit, you kind of figure out what your essentials are. You can minimalize down. Don't start as a minimalist in this adventure because you won't know what you'll really need until you, like you said, you gain the experience.
It's like when you're starting a new exercise regimen.
Yeah.
You would buy the cool clothes to wear that will make you get the incentive to go out and burn up some calories.
The Rock, baby.
There you go. Well, The Rock, it's taken him a few years to get to that level. But
no, I mean his apparel. But that's cool.
The Rock apparel. Yes, gotcha. But if you don't have the high quality premium shoes that one might find at Fairhaven Runners, for example, a fine store in Fairhaven.
A fine store
for those who are running. You get on just a pair of shoes.
Hey, Polly.
There you go. And, you knock out some miles, but you get the experience. That's, I think, my main a bit of advice is you got to be able to log the time, log the experience, the number of times out and about. And then you can decide, I really didn't need that, but I really could have prospered with this. Yes. And so you go from there.
So the other thing kind of going with attention span is once you're out in the woods, okay, keeping them busy. I don't understand people going out in the woods and then they bring their iPad so that their kid can play in the tent on the iPad. I don't get that. As a technologist, I don't get it. Okay. There is so much more other stuff that you can do outdoors. Now, I made the joke about KMRE and the radio. I've mentioned before, kit up just an FRS radio, family radio service radio. You don't need an FCC license to operate them. They're small little radios because you may be in a place like one of the places I'm going to mention later, and there is no cell service. I don't care what carrier you've got. Okay. And so just so that your kiddo can at least walk the trails around your campsite, wherever that might be, it gives them the experience of being away, but still safe.
It's very easy to default to a screen in this current society because we've been indoors for quite some time, so long. But this could be a great opportunity for the littles and the bigs to get reacquainted with a term called play and safe play, of course. But to be able to use the imagination to pick up a stick, and that is your walking stick, like Gandalf.
Yep.
As you are, crossing over the Shire or something like that. Let your mind explore, and instead of going to what the defaults were when you're in the creature comforts of home.
In that kit for your sub 5-year-old, get them a magnifying glass.
There you go.
Okay, just something fun that they can see bugs bigger. Okay, just that alone, hours of enjoyment. Okay, along those same lines, a good pair of binoculars. And I've kind of stumbled into this. We were on Whidbey Island and we were at this little cafe, and they had a pair of binoculars at the booth that we were at, and my son was probably 2, and he hoisted these huge binoculars.
Yes.
And he was just, he was just babbling, but he was telling us a story of whatever he saw on those binoculars.
There you go.
And so ever since then, he's had his own little pair of binoculars. Just, kid toy ones. You can usually get them for about $25. A company that I found and I really want to get a pair of are a pair of Nocs. Have you seen these?
How do you spell this?
N-O-C.
N-O-C.
Yeah, N-O-C-S, for like binoculars.
Oh, there you go.
They've got these great, I think they're like nitrogen filled, so they float. They're rugged, they're brightly colored, or they can come in black, as Chris Powell approved.
Yes.
And they come in an 8x magnification or a 10x magnification, which bigger is not always better. And I've got a link in the Substack that kind of goes over why an 8x magnification might be a little bit better for some folks. But get them stuff that they can go around and look and have them tell you what they are discovering.
What are you seeing?
Yeah. Be your own little Jacques Cousteau, or be your own little Bear Grylls.
One of the things that you mentioned in the previous episode and in your presentation, which we have a link to in the previous episode's Substack, was with them with a little camera or their perspective, you get a different perspective of life through their eyes. And that could be invaluable, highly valuable as time goes on and you're starting to see your little turn into a big.
Yep.
My beautiful wife and I are starting to see that with our little, who's not as little anymore, and like where she used to be a little shrimpy.
Yeah.
And those days and these memories, to see life through their perspective. Those binocs could be a really good way to help them share with you what they're experiencing.
And batteries are never needed nor included.
Oh, that's good.
So the other thing that I'll add to this is getting them in the water. That's a skill. My son's still working on swimming. Here in the Northwest, and I remember this as a kid too, my dad would always bring me to our rivers and lakes and stuff, and mostly glacial fed. Thanks, Pops.
Yeah.
And that blue water was always frigid, and I never could stay in long enough to really,
You mean like natural water up on the mountain is cold?
Yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, hypothermia is a thing. So growing up, I got my son, and I also got myself a 3mm wetsuit, just a shorty, meaning that it's got cut off knees and cut off arms.
Okay.
And it just keeps your core is a little bit warmer. They're really inexpensive. You don't have to go to like a big scuba shop or anything like that. You can find it on online retailers, usually around $100 for an adult suit, male or female. And for kids, you can get them usually for about $20 or $30 for a 2mm or a 3mm wetsuit.
Small investment. You might be able to also, could there be rental opportunities available in some cases?
If you're in an area like probably like around Anacortes or maybe even ours, most scuba shops are going to have like full kit.
Scuba shops. There you go.
Well, dive shops. But no, just get, if you're one of those people that love the water but always feel like you're cold, just go get a wetsuit. They're, inexpensive if you're getting something like a shorty. And then I also throw in there a pair of goggles. Like I said, I like to, as I mentioned in my presentation stuff, I like to free dive and stuff. And getting them a pair of goggles, they immediately get the Jacques Cousteau effect. Like, there's a rock underwater. There's a fish. There's a crawdad. It's that type of thing. If you're not a person who likes to go under the water, find a blow up paddleboard, and those, if you can, rent them as well. If not, they're usually about, a good one with a dual cylinder pump, probably around $300 ish if you want to buy it. And there's lots of places around here like our Little Donovan. They have a place where you can rent them during the summer season and stuff.
I see a lot of those stand-up paddlers over there on Bellingham Bay.
Yep.
And other areas. Probably good to try it in a safe area first.
Like Lake Whatcom.
And gain that experience before
Correct.
you head out there. Yeah, Lake Whatcom's your Huckleberry.
Yep. So that's what I've got for the kit for your sub 5. And then let's start with locations. So that going right to the SUP, stand-up paddleboarding and good diving lakes. Silver Lake, which is in between us and Mount Baker.
Yes.
I think it's a Whatcom County owned park, so you don't need any Discover Pass or anything like that. And there's also cottages there that you can rent out and stuff. And there's also, you can rent some gear from the lodge that's right there. But it's great for paddleboarding and diving and just, tooling about. Our own Lake Whatcom, as I've stated many times, and especially on Father's Days, we usually go diving and I drudge up all the garbage that filthy humans leave in our drinking water.
What a nice service on a day that celebrates you as a daddy-o.
Yep. And then to escalate this even more, to go out into the North Cascades and go to Diablo. That area, there's plenty of places that you can truck camp or paddleboard or just get out and hear bird calls and use Merlin or some of the other stuff that I mentioned in the previous episode. Now, if all of that is just like, AJ, I'm still barely, I got a C+ in your 101. Can we start with some intermediate urban stuff? I got you covered. Okay. Locust Beach here on Bellingham. If you head to Locust Beach and then head back south, if I recall, you're going to hit the Osprey shipwreck. Okay. So if you want to take your little and have them feel like they are finding a pirate ship, it's totally not a pirate ship.
They're looking for the treasure from One-Eyed Willie, yo.
Exactly.
The Goonies never say die.
That's our local shipwreck that is beached on shore and stuff. And it's a good, I think, 1.5-ish round trip hike. And it's right there on the beach. Arroyo Park. Arroyo Park is your gateway to a lot of tougher hikes because it will get you up to things like Raptor Ridge, and I think it does spur up to the Oyster Dome on a longer trek, also Pine and Cedar Lakes, etc. Larrabee State Park, which you have your choice. You can use Larrabee State Park as a jump off to go up a mountain, say towards the Oyster Dome, or you can go down to the beach. So you can pick your poison, as it were.
There you go.
To get out of Bellingham, head towards Fidalgo Bay or Anacortes and hit up Washington Park.
Okay.
I love Washington Park. You can park there and run the bluffs, or there's a nice trail system or whatever. Again, it's all about getting out and getting either experiences or miles under your belt to get that acclimation.
And so as we're thinking about getting out and about for something like this, you want to keep in mind there are going to be other people that want to get out and about too.
Oh, yeah.
And when we're talking about state parks, there may be a fee associated with it or reservations, because like Costco on a Saturday afternoon, a lot of people are going to want to flood that area to do that. So get your reservations in early if you're thinking, you know what, this is something that the weather's going to be nicer coming up soon. I want to be able to make sure that we're not disappointed or having a letdown. Also, there, in addition to state parks, there might be a fee-based, membership style thing. If you happen to be a member of KOA, Campgrounds of America, over in Linden, if you go up north in Linden, there's a fine KOA campground that is, I would say, really easy going to get familiar with the camping lifestyle with your little. You may want to check out on the website, DuckDuckGo it, kiddies. I got faith in you. But there may be a fee involved for that as well. But just take a look around and see what might be a place. By the way, if you happen to have any friends that have a rather extensive yard around, maybe you can have a trial run in a safe place that has some indoor plumbing in case there may be some difficulties with the kiddos getting used to being outdoors for an extended amount of time. I'm just thinking realistically, because when I was little, I wasn't much for being out in the wilderness. I liked the creature comforts of home. That's just me. But we want to make sure that, we cover all bases, if you will.
No, that's a good way to even test run the equipment that you either rent or you buy or you rummage sale for. Is try it in your own backyard, especially tents. If you're not familiar with tents, definitely try it before you bring it out, because you don't want to be out there and be like, I think we're missing a pole or something.
I've been told that I am intense in a lot of cases.
Intense. Ha.
So what else you got?
The last one is for those, because going from either diving lakes or being around water, then you've got the intermediate urban stuff. For those that are really wanting to steep themselves in forest bathing, I wanted to give my 3 hits for intermediate forest trail hikes. And the first one's Bagley and Chain Lakes, which is up there at Baker. It's right below Artist Point and Table Mountain. You can go as far as you want because what's nice about it is you start on the Bagley or Chain Lakes, and it's basically a loop. Or you can go way on out if you out yonder if you really want to. So you can,
for the more advanced.
Correct. I'm not putting that into 201, but I'm saying Bagley and Chain Lakes is a good route. The Sandwich Overlook to the Oyster Dome, that route specifically, Mr. Powell, you should know very well.
Yeah, I know it rather well. Tune into episode 200 about that one.
And because I know we have some listeners that are on the east side of the state.
Yeah.
The Bull and Pitcher. I love the Bull and Pitcher, and especially if you want to try to do some, basic scrambling or bouldering up those boulders so you can get a good view of the Spokane River. Definitely would do that as well.
Very cool. Now, dear listener, do not pack up your gear. Class is not dismissed yet. Stay in your seats. We've got one more thing to cover, and that is...
Well, this is a pop quiz known as Quality Assurance because these picks are picked for you by Professor Powell and Professor Barcet for your quality assurance.
That's right. AJ, what do you got on this quality assurance this time?
So on the whole Disney Plus wagon, my son has fallen in love with an adventurer by the name of Albert Lynn.
Okay.
So Albert Lynn is, I'm pulling a quote from his site, award-winning explorer of the National Geographic Society, a serial entrepreneur, a UCSD scientist, and storyteller.
Wow.
So this is a faculty, I believe he's faculty of UCSD, so University of California, San Diego.
Yep.
And he's also a technologist in his own right. He's done a lot of research in Lidar. And he's also an amputee. He has a bionic leg.
Cool.
But he does global expeditions with a capital E to find lost cities using technology.
All right.
So his wheelhouse is Lidar, both aerial and ground Lidar.
For the folks at home who may not know what LiDAR is, what does that stand for again?
Lidar, I don't remember what it actually stands for, but basically it's light emitting radar, basically.
Oh.
So if you think of the back of the iPhone 13 Pro or the iPad Pros, there's an extra sensor that will let you map things in your house or in the physical world. You can also do it by air, and what that allows you to do is cut through foliage because as you fly over at different angles, light can get through the canopy and map the terrain underneath, and just like a layer, you can reduce the canopy.
LiDAR!
So in that, he has helped other research scientists and anthropologists and stuff to find lost cities all around the world. And it's absolutely amazing. So Lost Cities with Albert Lynn, and then any of them. He is an excellent storyteller, and it's just, my son, I think he's watched everything that Albert has come up with.
Excellent adventures.
So that's it. What about you, Chris?
With all this talk about camping and all of the sitting in class listening to Professor Barcet educate us, I've gotten kind of hungry. And my quality assurance is for, I would say, somewhat new place here in town. Funny thing happened last week to my lovely wife and myself and our cute little niece who we were hanging out with. We were all hungry, and it was time on a Friday night to go get some food to eat. And funny enough, our 7-year-old niece likes Vietnamese pho noodle soup.
Right on.
Awesome. Where do we go? Soy House. Cool.
Yep.
Problem. On Friday night in Bellingham, we go to Soy House around dinner time.
Oh.
Someone rang the triangle, come and get it. And every spot in the Soy House parking lot was full.
Yeah.
Didn't want to get into a hangry situation, so we thought for plan B. The other, one of the other noodle soup restaurants is over on Samish Way. That's Pho 99.
Yep.
Near Seaholm Hagen. Well, that's a takeout only. And while they do have outstanding noodle soup, there were only a few cars in the parking lot. I'm thinking, great. Oh, then I saw the sign, takeout only. And then I happened to recall reading about a new place in Seaholm Village. And we took a chance, and we drove by Seaholm Starbucks near REI and Busara in that Seaholm Village, and right next to Insomnia Cookies. Oh, that wasn't dinner, but it was dessert. There's a place called Pho 360. And they have a cute little logo with the O, Pho and 360. No waiting.
Huh.
Plenty of tables available.
Okay.
Got our order taken and noodle soup delivered in about 12 minutes total.
Oh, hot.
So, case in point, great environment,
Okay.
tasty noodle soup, and you didn't have to wait. Ladies and gentlemen of the Bellingham Podcast Army, you don't have to go where everyone else is going. We want to do a little bit of research to see what else is out there. And in some cases, going to one of the alternative or lesser known venues might get you served quicker, might get you your gut happier with the food delivered quicker, and it might be a more fun experience than waiting for 30, 35 minutes for your table to be ready.
Pop quiz, Chris.
Pop quiz.
What was the Chris Powell approved pho that you ordered?
I went with the typical chicken pho.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, noodles. I don't. When I try out a new place, I'm going to go with something traditional just to kind of get a vibe for the experience.
Gotcha.
The chicken pho, the seafood pho, it's all good. They got the kids' portion size.
Oh, good.
And they got a bunch of other, things as well. Yeah, it was a really good experience. So
Awesome.
Quality in Bellingham. That's our restaurant life right there. Let's wrap this up.
Yep, that wraps it up for this 207th edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us, wherever you like to get this podcast. Remember, if you are in the Bellingham area, you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
And we are streaming all over the darn place at kmre.org. Saturdays at 3 p.m. in a lot of cases, but also tune in all the time to listen to some fine quality local programming.
Yep. And on that note, check your GPS and make sure it's got batteries. I'm AJ Barce.
And always brush and floss after eating. I'm Chris Powell. Thanks. I don't know. I just made it up. Thanks once again for joining us on the Bellingham Podcast.
Dude, now I want pho.
Of course, it's worth it. I know a place we can go.